Vicki Haddock, authentic leadership coach. And today I wanted to talk to you about a topic that was the most talked about topic in February in coaching sessions. And that is how to set effective SMART goals. The question, almost without exception, was generated from people feeling pressured by their organizations to set goals, the upcoming annual year goals, often tied to salary measurements and other metrics of effectiveness, and generated also by their desire to want to use goal setting tools effectively, but also knowing how ineffective the current tools that they're using are. And the common comment I get is, man, we design these goals, put all this effort into it, and then it gets stuffed in a drawer. Nobody ever looks at it. And it doesn't do anything to help me gauge my action during the year. And sometimes those goals are like mandated to me and I don't have any buy-in in them. But I'd love to find a more effective way of setting goals. That's a common conversation that I hear. So I want to share a much different approach to goal setting with you, a more effective approach to goal setting with you today. There's a lot of research out there today that shows that the SMART goal setting process just isn't effective anymore. In fact, there's some studies that show that it actually sets people up for success sets people up for failure instead of for success. And I'm going to share some reasons why about that. That tool was developed during the 1950s kind of command and control era of businesses. And it as business and the world has adapted, also probably time for that goal setting measure to adapt also. But this came to my mind, especially today, as I just did publish a newsletter out at the end of last week about this idea around goal setting. And then one of my favorite business coaches had an article posted today about goal setting. And so George Cow, he is an authentic business coach. He specializes in helping entrepreneurs with authentic marketing techniques. But today he had an article that was posted. I'll put the link below. But the topic of it is about in my business is successful by holding lightly to goals, yet focusing on processes. And he makes 2 points here that are the reasons that I think that SMART goals aren't effective. People set these super high goals that are a little bit unrealistic. And even though the R in SMART stands for realistic, many times it's very difficult to set, what a realistic goal is for, a year, an annual goal. So in his article today, he says the fixation with creating a firm and aggressive goal creates an underlying anxiety and unhappiness with one's current situation, where you're subconsciously telling yourself that you aren't there yet and you're not enough. And more importantly, you won't be enough until you get there, but you're not sure if you're ever going to get there because subconsciously we're questioning the aggressiveness of the goal. And the second point he makes is the more you focus on a specific outcome, the more attached and the less flexible you become, and you sacrifice well-being for a dead vision. And the end result is that if it doesn't happen in the way you imagined it, in that very inflexible way, on the timeline you want, then you become discouraged, you give up. Your only measurement of success is if you hit that metric. So he goes on in his article to share his version of goal setting, which is about focusing on the daily process. And that is also tracks to the goal setting techniques that I work with my leaders, that I work with in coaching on. But I use that in a tool called a focus wheel. And I'm just going to show you just a basic template of a focus wheel is pretty simple, right? You can tell this one has been used as an example a lot of times. And I like to focus on 4 foundational pillars that guide us in our goal setting. And these are things that over time they act as a compass for us in setting our goals. One of those is our values. Like our values literally help guide us and make decisions. Skill set, mindset, and balance are the other 2. They're really 4 key things that help guide our goals. But using this method, what we do is we put the big picture objective out there, and then into that center of the focus wheel, we pull actions. Now, for peak effectiveness, you could do one of these from a yearly basis that said, here's the big things that I'm working on for the year, and then pull that down into a quarterly action strategy, which I would also encourage, if you're going to use the annual version of it, to consider updating that annual version quarterly, because in our world, as rapidly as things change, it really is challenging to plan for longer than 90 days at a time without having something come in and impact that direction. So I'm going to give you some examples from my own quarterly focus wheel that I use. I use this tool daily. It always hangs in front of me. But once you've completed this quarterly focus wheel, then that's exactly what its purpose is to be, in front of you daily, with you asking yourself, what action am I taking today in order to measure or reach that destination? But the emphasis becomes the action you can control today is the only thing that you can control. So like today, one of my quarterly goals is to release 20 videos in the first quarter of 2024. And so if I focused on that number, that could get a little bit overwhelming, right? But all I need to focus on is, what topic am I talking about today? And then how am I recording that video today? So it brings it down to the action. Helps us to not get stuck in our head so much about things also. So I'm going to give you just a quick, look from my own focus wheel. I love colors. So you see mine looks a little busy, a little colorful. Yours doesn't have to look that way. It could totally reflect your personality and style. But I have my goal, my values over here that guide me. And in particular, you can see a value of joy that's guiding me this quarter. I also have some skills I'm working on, building some neuroscience, building some more skill set around the neuroscience behind coaching and leadership and change. And then a really big one here is consistent publication, which I've just mentioned, relates to the videos I'm putting out. So that consistent publication comes down into the middle of my focus wheel, where one quadrant here is that I'm publishing something consistently every 2 weeks. And then in the center here, I have one phrase. Mine is sustain the cadence joyfully. That's how I want to work through this quarter, is I want to have a pace that is doable for me, where I don't burn out and where I also consistently make progress towards my goals. But that's the thing I see every day when I look at my focus wheel. So what I really wanted to do is just give you a little bit of a snapshot today of what's different. Now, the visual impact of this is so important because it's like downloading a map into your brain that every time you look at it, that your brain reinforces or the neural networks around that map, which also creates us a pull towards success instead of with the SMART goal process where we would typically set, very high aggressive goals and then have, 40 steps that we need to take to get there. We're always measuring the gap in between where we are and where we want to be instead of just measuring, the action that we're taking today. This is one of the things I really believe strongly in for leaders, authentic leaders who are committed to taking consistent action. Um, I think this is one of the things they can do well. They can learn how to teach their teams how to do this well. They can use this in their personal life to do to lead their personal goals and objectives. And so I'd love to invite you to attend my next upcoming quarterly focus wheel check-in. I host them once a quarter. It's a free event. It's just a service to my community. And you can come and design your own focus wheel. Because it's a new tool, it takes a little bit to begin to get comfortable with it and familiar with it. But once you grasp it, the comments that I hear from my clients who are using this, like, wow, this makes so much sense. I'm actually like eager to go now and take action versus being filled with, anxiety and dread about goal setting. So would love to hear your thoughts on one, how successfully have you used smart tools? There are probably some uses where they are very applicable still, and then some where it's not. And then certainly I'll put the link below also for you to register for the upcoming quarterly check-in. So thanks for being along today. And please feel free to share this video with other colleagues that might be struggling with goal setting. And I'll look forward to seeing you in the community or in the upcoming quarterly check-in. All right, take care. Have a great day.